not Archie. I believe I have a note here saying sell ESL tickets.
Yeah, do you want me to take it away?
Go ahead, Billy Mays.
Okay, Billy Mays. No, I'm not going to do the voice. However, yeah, you can, for the first time, join us as a live studio audience at the ESL 1 studio in Leicester for the Deadman finale. It's going to be amazing. You can meet the team. There'll be an exclusive Q&A just for the audience members. So if you ever wanted to ask us a question in person, that is your chance. Other than that, tickets are now £10. We've reworked the ticket prices because we realised that we basically got it wrong to begin with. It's the first time that we've ever done something like this. So yeah, we've corrected that. So the tickets are only £10 now, so do come along to Leicester and yeah, join us for the finale. It's going to be an amazing event. I've been talking to ESL a lot and it just sounds phenomenal.
I can't wait. We've got quite an awesome event.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's got the world's largest LCD screen that you'll be able to watch the event on, which is going to be pretty cool.
And I'd love to meet you.
Thank you. Oh, them.
Them, the people you talk to.
You've probably already met. I mean,
it's going to be.
Yeah, we were on the bus.
It's going to be compared to like RuneFest, for example. It's going to be such a small audience, so we'll be able to talk to everyone quite a long time, and you can ask any questions you want. Talk about the game.
It's not
going
just
to be
like
a very personal event.
Yeah, it's not just like a come up and say hello. You know, it's going to be a like.
All those questions that you don't want Archie to see, you can ask us face to face.
Oh dear. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, no, it'll be amazing. So you should definitely come along. Tickets are £10. Go and check out the post. It'll be in the month ahead, which is coming out directly after the stream as well.
Okay. Thank you, Modtello.
Thank you.
That being said, we should probably move into the questions, I think. This first one is from Space Rune, who says, can we have the ability to add more task weights to Slayer tasks by spending Slayer reward points? This would increase the likelihood of getting the task that the task weights were used on. There's a big further explanation, but if you guys have the gist of it.
I had to think about how I'd go about implementing that when I saw the question earlier. I would be hesitant to make the script too expensive that has to look up your extra weighting for each of the things that the Slayer Master's got.
Yep.
But, I wouldn't rule it out.
I think it's possible.
Because most of them aren't that long lists. There's only, 20-something things
but
on the
however,
Master's list.
what I was thinking was, if this was a different Slayer Master, and this is a special Slayer Master, where essentially you're more or less, with that Slayer Master, you're sort of building your own Slayer list.
Yeah.
More so than this Slayer Master has a set list and you can tweak it up and down.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Having a Slayer Master where you essentially build it by building the weightings to what you want to be, I think is a cooler idea.
Fun. And people do keep asking for another Slayer Master. The Zaya Slayer Master seems
Zaya Slayer. It rhymes. Sorry.
I suppose that's what they wanted it for. Also, we did talk about a big Slayer race in the continent of Zaya outside of Kurand, which more to come on that.
It depends if people think it's a cool idea, of course. But instead, they're just typing random numbers, and I have absolutely no idea why they're just typing random numbers.
Yeah.
It's like the typing in a random number generator between 0 and 9999.
But you know the only way to get around this? What's your favorite emote?
What's my favourite emote?
Yeah.
Kokona, obviously.
That's what the chat's filled with.
Well, yeah, he's got a Prague, so we miss him,
Okay.
It could be that that's somebody's bank pin.
Frankly, Franka Z is my favourite.
Franka Z is pretty good.
Swift
but you
Rage
see,
is pretty
Franka
good
Z
as
is
well.
the
I like
second
Swift
best
Rage.
dog emote. Oh my dog is the best dog emote. Everybody knows that.
Swift Rage has lost its usage. It's never used anymore.
That's true.
Yeah, we just plugged the tickets website in the chat there.
Characters in the chat, there we go.
I'm going to mark that one to be looked at later. I think it'd be better to gauge a proper reaction from the community, what they think of that. Garrett says, can the Bruma Torch be switched to the shield slot with no stats? This would give it an actual use.
Provided we can get it off the people who've got it in their right hand and move it to their left hand on login.
It would make sense.
Move it somewhere.
I think it's a really cool item. I'd like to see it have an actual use.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I've got 8 of them in my bank as well. I can't be bothered to go hand them in.
Can you alch them?
Well, maybe. Yeah, let's put the alch value up as well. Yeah?
The alch value, what?
Bruma torches.
10 mil?
Yeah, 10 mil sounds good, yeah.
Seems like a stupid market. It seems like a very favorable
Of course, your stance
update.
might be a little awkward if your left hand is usually, down, and you've got a torch kind of sticking out forwards from it.
If someone looks at you from that side.
Yes, you have a big glowing torch in your hand, but provided it didn't look too incongruous there, we wouldn't be able to give it a special stance to make it vertical or whatever you need.
You're dangerous with those claws.
I am. You haven't seen my spec.
Oh, really? Let's
Can we see
show
your
us your spec.
Are you going to do the spec?
You want me to do the spec?
I'm
do
getting
the
my
spec.
drink far
Right.
away from this.
Type 1 if you want me to do the spec.
They're all going
What are
to
you
type
saying?
1. Just do the
Stop,
spec.
stop delaying the
I'm
inevitable.
Waiting, I'm
Do
waiting for them to type 1. 'Cause for what I do, they might not.
Well, look at
right?
that
They
action
might
shot.
really not want to say it. I think they want to see it.
I think they want to see
Well,
it
the
as well,
camera's
too.
on me. Right?
What are you going to spec?
I'm gonna spec
Because you're
you.
worryingly
Do you
looking
want-
at me.
do you want to be spec?
You can spec me like...
Ron, you're going to have
You're
to.
going to stand up.
I'm going to cause them
I'm
to
gonna get
stand
an
up.
action
Do
shot.
do you see the RuneScape player sitting down when they do the claw stick? No, you don't. They stand up.
You don't see them sit
Do
down
I
much.
have to stand up?
You can sit down if you want.
I'll sit down. You can
Okay,
spec me
is this
sit
going to
down.
be a good angle?
I'm going to throw
a bit dark
vengeance
where
up
you
and
go.
I'm going to do it from the. You can avenge it.
vengeance is...
It's all dark where you've gone.
Okay.
It's an AGX
like
that's
threw
something.
it
It's a double
AGS
spec,
at
isn't
the
it? You're meant to die.
I'm meant to die.
Yeah, lie
Do the
down, lie down.
deflect. Do the deflect animation. Come
What,
on.
Wait, that's how it works, isn't it?
And now
RuneScape combat.
Kirby died.
Hang on, you've died. You've
Demonstrate for
died.
you guys. Well done.
Hey.
Well, that was the most
That's
ha-has we will
what
ever
they
get
look like
in
on the
the chat.
flop.
Everybody type cringe if you love that.
I'm genuinely proud of how cringy that was.
You were just like Dr. Pepper.
I'm sipping a brew.
That was one of my favorite moments I've ever seen in these Q&As.
You know what it actually reminds
I posted a lot.
It reminds me of your top 10 IRL RuneScape videos. And that was the most cringy thing I've ever watched.
That's rude.
He worked almost hard on that.
No, not from Chris's perspective.
Okay.
Were there any more questions?
We're
Yeah.
somewhat sidetracked. If you want to see that live in action, ESL.
He's doing it on
There you
stage in ESL.
Okay. Hamzi says, when will the silver jewelry be implemented?
I think that's due in 2017, right after Christmas, because there's rather a lot of it, yeah. And well, don't want to rush Maz because we've also asked her to write the Christmas event, and obviously if we postpone the Christmas event to January, that would be a bit silly. So we'll postpone jewelry.
Yeah, I mean, me and you are busy on raids.
We are a bit. And we
Maz
have-
has had basically everything.
Yeah, almost every update you've had for the last couple of weeks has been Maz pretty much solo, while Jed prepares for the next Dead Man, and Kieran and I do raid stuff. And if you think the bosses I've been sending pictures out are good, you should see the one he's working on.
Hopefully. I hope it lives up to that.
No pressure.
expectation. But I'm pretty damn pleased with what I've got. It's coming along very
It looks
nicely.
the bomb.
Have we went over the Dead Man changes yet?
No.
Cool.
We will be after we send out the invites, which is, I think, maybe tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Yes.
it'll hopefully be tomorrow.
All right.
But yeah, Jed's working on quite a number of tweaks to the finale, and hopefully it'll be a much improved event
Oh,
after the last few.
it's very, very promising what we've done for the finale. So.
Okay. Where are we at here? One Lucky says, in RS2, oh, this is the big discussion. In RS2, you could smite someone on the same tick as killing them. In Old School, you can't. Can we change it to how it used to work? I'm going to give a quick example just for anybody who isn't familiar with this thread. In current Old School, if I end up smiting Mod Merchant in a fight, his prayer will drop to 0 as he dies, and he will still protect his item. He'll spawn, and then it'll say he's lost all of his prayer, but he'll keep his item.
Yep.
In the olden days, before this, if your prayer actually hit 0 when you died, that would be the first thing that happened, and you would die without protect item on, and you would lose your thing.
I'm not sure exactly what olden days that was, because we went and looked at the code archive, and what we got is what we had in August 2007. So we didn't, decide to just take it out on a whim.
No, of course.
But
I
we can
imagine this
certainly-
might have been.
Kieran and I worked out how to put it in again for Old School, since it seems like a rather good idea.
I don't know what year this is from, maybe 2009 or.
I'd probably say I remember doing it like in 2007. So
I don't do PvP, so I really don't know when it happened, but
Well, a lot of prayer did get rewritten in early 2007 to make it not stalled by interfaces
Yeah.
and to make prayer flicking harder than it was before. And it could be the developer working on that ended up mislaying this feature along the way.
Yeah. The nice thing is it's very of our era, though. Like, is how I expect Smite to work, where if you hit 0, you lose your protect item.
Well, it begs the question what it's for if it doesn't make the effect go away.
Right. Yeah, quite. Yeah, I mean, I think personally it's a really, really nice change, but obviously it's something that we want to talk to people a lot about.
Right.
It might be one that's worth straw polling, I would imagine.
I think it'd be great for a straw poll just to gauge their general feedback on it.
It's such a minor change, but it
It's
will
huge.
obviously.
I mean,
it will obviously cause you to lose your one protected item more often.
It's
It's a
absolutely
big
massive,
change.
especially as myself as a peer. I have 44 prayer. I will definitely get 52 if Smite is actually going to be so viable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not going to right now. So,
More
Yeah.
AGS PKs.
I mean, since the beginning of Old School, this isn't the way that it's been. So, it's completely changing the way people are used to PKing. And you'd hope they'd be aware of the update when it went live.
You'd hope so,
So-
yeah.
To clarify, like Smite, I believe it's a quarter of your damage is taken off your opponent's prayer. So, I mean, if your opponent's only got 25 prayer points left, well, that's a bad example. If you've got 20 prayer points left and you hit an 80 with an AGS,
Of all the numbers.
you're gonna pull off the Smite.
Yeah.
And it's feasible to hit towards those sort of figures.
We were trying to work out what the word was for having a smite done to you, whether it would be smote or smited or smitten.
We decided it definitely wasn't smitten.
I think it is smitten.
Smooted.
You become
Smooted.
smitten with your opponent when you hit 0.
Smooted sounds like fun.
Okay, well, we're going to get that straw poll in the chat for you guys momentarily. In the meantime, sorry? Yeah, that looks good. There you go. In the meantime, reminder, we are still taking questions from the chat. So go ahead, if you have any, just at RuneScape and ask away. Moving on. I think we've got one here for Mod Ghost. Explode says, will all the raids bosses be massive, or are there any smaller ones like Zilliana?
No, all of them will be large scale, just because they have more impact then. I think everyone's expecting raids to be big and splashy, and I also like doing large bosses as well, so marry the two together, and we end up with large bosses. So roughly about 5x5 and 6x6 is the scale you can expect with the raids bosses. Enjoy.
Tecton be 4x4, but what he lacks in girth, he makes up for in height.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I forgot to mention in the beginning, in case you can't tell from the title, we are sneak peeking one of the bosses. You've kind of already maybe seen him on Twitter, but we'll go more in depth and
it's
show
a
you a bit
female,
more.
this boss.
Her,
Yeah.
she, whatever I said. Okay. I've got a follow-up question. What's the biggest boss we could possibly make?
The biggest boss we can make would be a 10x10.
How big is that as a comparison to,
So how big is Jad? for
Yeah.
instance?
How big is Jad? Jad's a 5x5.
That's not even that
So we can
big.
make something 2 times as big as Jack.
Yeah, you
Yes,
could make
might
something
be.
2 sides big.
What's the biggest?
Cree's pretty
Can we-
big. but
why
he's
haven't
in
we
the
done
air,
that
so it's
yet?
hard.
Because we only got it added to the
Is the
engine about 2 years ago.
The biggest thing we've got is, I believe, technically the tentacles in the Abyssal Island.
Yes, the tentacles in the Abyssal Sire Room are the biggest NPCs we use because while it's just a great long thin column, it can kind of extend in all different directions, and we had to allow that in the radius. Otherwise, it would clip worse with the scenery than it does.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, that's a nice app.
Very interesting results there. So the question about Smite sitting at 75% yes. This is a really, really interesting one because such a small percentage of our player base is PvP orientated. So when we do ask anything PvP, even like a
It
nice
tends
quality
to
of life
get down,
fix,
yeah.
it tends to not do
I mean,
very
I think
well.
one of the things that maybe is helping to bolster this is it could almost be viewed as a fix to how the mechanics intended to work.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it does
what
almost
I'm
seem
thinking
like a
about.
bug. It's odd.
well, it's
die
it's
with
odd.
0
If
prayer,
you take
you
a
still
step back and you
protect
look
your
at what
item.
happens, it is odd. Your prayer goes to 0, your protect item doesn't go off, you die and it works. So,
I can certainly see why it was changed. I would be puzzled to know why it became the way it is, unless it really was from that prayer timer rewrite from around early 07.
All right,
Also, the
that's
prayer interface
really
got
cool.
rewritten around that time as well to bring its. I forget exactly when in 07, but we'd got this new format for interfaces, and somebody converted the prayer interface. It didn't go quite right the first couple of tries either, because we were still getting to grips with that format ourselves. Obviously, for the interfaces we've converted since Old School started running, we've got a rather better grasp of 2007's technology now, so we've been able to do a bit better than that. But prayer went through some funny iterations.
Okay. Octa says regular energy potions for free to play! Exclamation marks. They are worthless because of staminas and run energies are atrocious, especially in free-to-play for clanning.
Did we pull this at some point?
I don't remember that one. We talked about teleblock enough times.
Maybe we discussed it, but
Do
I
they
never
even
went
get
with it.
strange fruit?
We talked about attack potions.
I remember the suggestion was to make them with the apothecary, right?
Yes.
So,
Or to make something with the
because obviously you can't make them yourself.
I assumed you might have just let them buy them in the Grand Exchange.
Well, they'd be able to do that as well, of course.
Right.
But I think giving them a way to actually get them and obtain them would make sense. So,
Okay.
And we'd make the apothecary's interaction for getting them a heck of a lot nicer than what he used to have for getting strength potions. Because
was it a lot of going through dialogue?
Can you make a potion? Can you make a strength potion? What do you need to make a strength potion? I have one of those and one of those. Now I have a strength potion. Yes, I agreed to pay 5 coins. Now I want it again.
Are you sure? Yeah. What have you just pasted into the notepad?
I have no idea. I just pasted a short novel into the notepad.
Okay. We like that idea?
Yeah, I like that idea. I think it makes sense. I mean, free to play, you've got no agility level, essentially. So,
Right.
yeah, running is a pain.
I can see clanning being a pain and being like, guys, I'll return. Just give me 7 minutes. All right.
A run-in fight.
RuneScape 392 says, can we please see more agility methods in the future? It says, currently it's restricted to running around in circles, which can get quite tiresome. One suggestion from somebody else commenting saying, maybe an Assassin's Creed styled mini game where you chase your targets. Hang on.
Yeah.
You chase your targets via parkour. Very cool. And you kill them.
Isn't that just a rooftop agility course with an NPC on it?
Yeah, you say you do have rooftop agility course, then
Maybe
there's
you
a
could
guy
take
at the
different
end that you
routes,
just
maybe.
whack over the head. We just start spawning NPCs on a rooftop course that you knock it.
Top down a bike
In all seriousness, though, yes, doing laps of agility is fairly boring. And to be honest, some of the ones we've already got in game, I think, do it better. Like the Brimhaven Agility Arena. You're not doing laps. It's got more of a game to it, and it's a bit more. And I find it a bit more fun, frankly. And the Agility Pyramid, as much as that's basically still a course,
It's laps
still a
first.
little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're going around. It's a spiral rather than a circle.
Yeah.
Imagine this, though, like standing in Varrock, and then you see the wise old man running in the distance, like, oh, catch him, I'll get agility experience.
I wonder if we could make
Sounds
something like the
great.
Guggenheim Museum in New York, where you go round and round a spiral, and if you can kind of leap up or down the levels of the spiral, then you catch the NPC more easily.
So I was thinking, like, this is completely just thought for myself like a few weeks ago about like an inverse of the agility pyramid, like an agility pit, and
Agility pit.
you've got like there's a massive cavern going down, and you're like navigating the walls around the edge, progressing down, and at the bottom there's something you want, and
Did you ever read Dante's Inferno?
Yes.
I didn't.
I don't mean the Dan Brown novel. I mean the one that it's based on. The idea is that hell is circles with god-awful things on every level, and they get narrower and narrower towards the bottom, and Dante has to go through obstacles to get from one to another. Like I think at one level he has to get some massive giant to give him a lift.
Yeah.
But at the
That's
bottom he
cool.
has to climb Satan's leg. It's a weird book.
Yeah, it is a weird book.
We've also
certainly,
already discussed the idea of an underwater agility course, which came from the streamers. I
Anything
believe.
underwater.
So, like, imagine an agility course where you're in a sunken ship and you've got air bubbles. You've got an air meter that's running out because you're underwater. You can't take your diving equipment; it's too heavy. It won't fit through the gaps. So you're swimming through like broken walls in this sunken ship, and then you've got to reach an air pocket or an air bubble occasionally to keep your air level up. And at the end, you get to a treasure chest that you can loot, and you swim back up to the surface and go down again and do it again.
Sounds pretty cool.
So, I mean, I think that's a neat idea, which it's a spin on what an agility course is, but makes it a bit more fun.
I like that idea. Yeah.
And there's a survival element to it, because if you run out of air, you're going to die.
That's what I was going to ask. What happens if you don't
And your
run to
items
the
will
air pocket?
float to the top.
Your graceful just drifts away.
Well, I'll get rid of the need to bring that blinking diving helmet if we just make you die.
I'd love to go to the effort of coding it so that your objects would literally float away.
Would
And you
you,
just see it gradually going off in the distance.
High risk agility training.
would you be
know-
more inclined to design something like that yourself, or would you prefer to look for like a PDC for something like that?
I mean, the more detailed mechanics can come from wherever.
Yeah.
I think that's just the concept that I really like. But
Okay.
I'm always open to player suggestions and that sort of stuff. Like, could be a little bit of a current going through a section of the ship and you've got to hold yourself into it and go through it, or there's a little broken plank in the boards of the ship and you have to squeeze through it.
You get attacked by sharks.
Yes,
not?
that's make it way more exciting.
I don't know,
For sharks
Assassin's
into the
Creed.
mix.
We
And
don't,
then Karam ones as well.
for what it's worth, we don't have any models of sharks, only shark fins. So every shark in RuneScape is just a kind of triangle floating around. It's great transmogging into one of those.
It'd be funny if we saw something completely contrary, like attached to the bottom of the fins, finally.
Anyway,
Okay. Yes, we'd like to do that. Let's move on. Actually, let's grab one from the chat. Vegsy says, can you bring Bolas into Old School? I always say this word wrong.
Bolas. Bowlers.
Bolas. Whatever. I'm so tired of that. It was a really good Old School version of Ice Barrage, but for range. It wasn't
I
quite.
remember it being fairly
Ice
controversial when
Barrage.
it first turned up, but we could certainly recreate it if people actually wanted it.
Yeah, it's...
I've never seen much support for that.
No.
Mostly all the interest in it is over the way we pronounce it.
I always
Just
seem to
I
go down
pronounce it.
badly. as
Well, there's the way you pronounce it, the way I pronounced it afterwards. Last time it was on stream, it was... Yeah, what they're not saying is they want it. So
Yeah, judged by the chat, no.
And he's like, Ice Barrage has got requirements. It's locked behind a fairly decent quest.
Very high requirement.
And then obviously 94 Magic if you want to do Barrage, but obviously there's lower level versions. But yeah.
to the player who said, why would you bring that question up? Well, because one of you asked it. And if you filtered it by only the questions he liked, you might get a bit annoyed. There's monkey noises out here.
I always wonder if they can hear that.
Yeah, that's really
Probably not.
They probably can. That was pretty loud.
Let's go to the next question then.
soundproof room there.
Is that
Soundproof
HRT?
kappa.
It's a
BI,
place
I
where-
think.
Tarjeek says, can we get the kill counts for monsters that do not require a Slayer level to kill, such as Hellhounds and Black Dragons?
There's rather a lot of them if we go down that route. Like, it's not just the exciting ones either. Like,
Hellhounds exciting?
You what?
Are Hellhounds
I was
exciting?
thinking of dragons, but
Right.
I totally understand like people wanting to track anything like that. So it's unfortunate. I mean, but what you really need is like the rune metric setup that RuneScape 3 has, where we're not tracking it ourselves in game. It's basically you're getting it from the data team, more or less.
Direct.
And directly, yeah, and that is stored on a system somewhere else that you can access.
and rather unlike our game engine, which was not designed for us to try and write databases, it would have been.
And for RuneScape 3, Rune Metrics was, I believe, well over a year of development, and it's also a paid-for feature. So, I mean, I can't see us ever having the dev time to be able to do something like that either.
Given the trouble we've had getting some minigame high scores up, I'm not all that optimistic they could give us the entire rune metrics or adventurer log suite like the other games acquired over the years. Sorry.
There's another popular suggestion here on Reddit. Galaxy Bomb says, could Virak's set and the Dragon Scimitar special be changed to work against Gorilla Prayers? This would give the abilities a use outside of a very niche PvP environment.
I think so.
I've seen it come up a few times, yeah. Well, I don't see any reason not. I mean, personally, I prefer the player to actually have to deal with the mechanics rather than just bypass them by using a specific weapon. So maybe if it's not as good as switching rather than literally useless.
Kieran, is your mic rubbing on your top?
I don't know.
They're saying heavy breathing in the chat. Sorry.
Just fell for the troll.
That's why I always wear these ones with collars on streaming days.
I really agree with the idea of saying maybe it does a little bit less damage, but that's up to you. Yeah, cool idea.
Breathing intensifies.
One for Mod Ghost again. Okay. Grenade says, when designing the raids bosses, did you look at any other games for inspiration?
I actually get most of my inspiration from films, to be honest. Yeah, so I suppose I looked at the Silent Hill film for that strange trilobite with the face on the bottom of it. There's these odd bugs in Silent Hill. They've kind of got people built into the bottom of them.
Oh, that kind of bug, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's very
I
odd.
love Silent Hill.
Yeah, they're pretty spooky.
With Vespula, the wasp boss, I designed something when I was at college about 3 years ago. There's a giant wasp, so I kind of just took that and retrofitted it a little bit for Old School Runescape. For Tecton, we just made that on stream anyway, so a lot of that was like player feedback and things. And who's the other boss that we've got?
Tecton, Vastanisterio.
Vastanisterio, that's it. So that's just an Arceus Elder, basically, and I came up with the concept for how he became the way he is.
Well, it's not just an Arceus Elder, it's merged with a Rockfall.
Yeah, so he's got a walk-in rock avatar, but I suppose that isn't particularly sort of, I don't know.
It is very
inspirational.
impressive.
It's
like,
cool, but it's not sort
you're
of
not
like,
selling it right
But
now.
it's not necessarily inspired from anything in specific.
Yeah, that's it.
It's inspired by something we already have in game,
That's
basically.
it.
And it's got quite a personality issue going with it.
Yeah, to be honest, a lot of the time when I design something, say it would be like passed on to Kieran or Ash, and they'll sort of flesh out certain attributes of it, like how it actually behaves in game and how like the lore's built around it, its character profile and things like that. So a lot of the time it may start out as my idea, but then once it's been passed around the team, it ends up with something a bit more full-bodied, I think.
I think the way that boss spawns is the coolest we have.
That's cool. Okay, I'm glad you
it
like
looks
that.
phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, he sent me the graphics. I plugged a few of them in and programmed it. All right, when I get into the room, make Vastanisterio emerge from his boulder. And compiled it, boot up a test world, walked in there, walked up to the boulder, and Vastanisterio emerges from his boulder exactly like I programmed him to, and it still scared the what's name out of me.
That's actually really cool. That's something I wouldn't have thought of. Like every boss I'm thinking of right now just spawns. It just appears.
Yeah, I like having. I think first impressions are important. So if you walk into a room, the boss is already there doing something.
Yeah.
Then it just has like an instant sort of
Tecton's an excellent
impact.
example of that.
Yeah,
It looks really cool.
I don't suppose we should really say too much about it, but yeah, I did
it's
want
so
that sort of
it's like
impact.
Well, the
atmospheric.
players know he's
as soon
got
as
a
you
big
see them.
anvil because I went and tweeted a picture yesterday
Oh,
showing
that's fine. Okay.
big Tecton, big anvil, and a lot of the feedback was, "Wow, the anvil."
That's cool.
I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say like a no.
You've got an innuendo to make about anvils?
No. It was more of like a potential spoiler, but
Okay.
it don't
I can
really-
smell those dragon claws from here.
I was gonna say,
I
they
can
look
as
like
well,
they're painted
actually.
with
No,
ketchup.
I can help you with that.
It's because they're coated with acrylic paint, I think.
Yeah.
They're now in the fridge,
Sorted.
so
They are now stored in the drinks fridge.
Well, they won't smell so bad from here.
Okay. Moving on. Galaxy Bomb says, could it be possible to lock certain items in our inventory/equipment menus so that pressing deposit all does not move them?
This was essentially the point in the bank fillers update that we did
Yeah.
a few months
You
ago.
can-
So what you can do is, now you can't obviously lock something in your inventory, but so instead what you do is you get everything you need in your inventory out, and you already have stacks of everything in your bank that you want to possibly put in. So in the example, you're fishing trout and salmon. You've got a fishing rod and feathers in your inventory. Take them out of your bank. Make sure you've got a stack of raw trout and salmon in your bank, and then use the bank fillers feature, which you access from the top right settings window. And it fills your bank with essentially a fake item, so it pretends it's full. Then when you hit the bank all button, obviously your trout and salmon will go in, but your fishing rod and feathers will remain in your inventory. And
it's a really,
essentially
really helpful thing to do.
provides that feature, because trying to lock things in your inventory would be a lot more challenging.
Yeah, it's like once you get used to doing it, it's really quite quick anyway. If you want to, I would say if people want like a visual guide on how to do it, go look at like a ZMI guide because it's very useful there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty easy to do. Use the bank fillers basically.
For what it's worth, the loop that goes through your inventory deciding that trying to deposit each slot could be programmed to just ignore slots that we didn't want to deposit. However,
Trying to mute it.
you know, there's a lot of people who don't seem all that keen on it. Having trouble with your voice?
Well, people are saying that I'm heavy breathing, so I'll check it out. and see.
In general, like
You get memed again.
I'm not getting trolled, isn't it?
bank code becoming more inefficient as well, as we're always going to end up stacking more and more things on there.
Yeah, we don't want to end up in a situation where we can no longer maintain the bank code because it's got so many features bunged into it.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Prospector John says barehanded butterfly catching. So these came with a 75 to 95 requirement for hunter/agility, ranging from 80 to 150k hunter experience per hour, as well as a 15 to 28,000 agility experience per hour.
So basically, you didn't get the butterfly, but you got a bunch of XP for it, and I thought it was a reasonable feature, to be honest. It was a way to get hunter XP, obviously in exchange for nothing, unlike red chin jumpers. I think it's perfectly fits in the game reasonably. I'm
Some
wrong.
people might disagree with you there, yeah.
Saying you like
wrong.
something. They're the worst thing in the world, is saying you like something and then seeing everyone hate it.
It's like, because the chat's
oh.
delayed, I'm like, yeah, I think that's a reasonable idea. I looked at that chat. No.
28k agility XP now sounds quite high for it.
That's like super high requirement though, like 90
Still-
agility, 95
Still
hunter.
pretty good.
Yeah.
If
Well,
players don't want it, then.
I mean, that's kind of sorted itself, yeah. All right. Another one from him saying, Tome of Frost, possible drop from wyverns/water fiends. Reduces taken damage from the desert heat, acts as infinite water runes, and buffs water spells.
Basically like the Tome of Fire, but for water spells.
Reduces damage taken in the desert is nice as well.
I don't see a problem with that. I think it's a reasonable idea. It basically does the same as the fire one. I'd want to charge it with something. Like the fire one, you get pages, obviously, and put them in. So I'd like something similar.
Right. New skilling boss. It's
The
needed.
water Todd.
The water todd.
I'm not sure that's German.
Do Wasser Todd. There you go.
Fine.
I'd definitely say I agree. There needs to be some context. Where are you getting this from?
Sounds like a nice item.
If someone
I totally
can think
agree.
of that and
Yeah.
it makes sense, then
It'd be
it
cool
sounds
to
like
see
a
some
cool
PDC
idea.
on where you could get it from rather than just adding it to the Wyverns.
I'd rather give it to something new.
Because Wyverns
That's
is
for
already
summer Todd.
Summer Todd.
Yeah, just dropping from wyverns and water fiends. I don't know.
Like, especially
controversy.
Wyverns
Maybe
is
it was
already
dramatic as we're hoping.
quite an established drop table. Don't know how comfortable I'd be adding something to it.
Okay.
Seven
I
pages.
think we have an image in the next one. Smithy says, "Can you change the male Armadillo set to this?" Hey. Remove the shown belly
Mod Ghost.
and also the thigh.
Because we don't want to see that. Is that it?
I think probably people don't like it because the idea of showing a man's midriff on a suit of armour probably seems a bit quite effeminate to them. So they want something that looks more masculine. It's not my opinion, but if people want that, then we can certainly poll it. Are we able to straw poll it now or anything like that? Just say.
I think
I think this was changed at some point.
I don't think so.
Because I don't
The last
remember it
time-
looking
We
like
talked
that.
about it for like the rock shell body. Maybe the torso as well had that at one point. I don't know if we actually fixed those.
I don't know.
The helmet
Like,
definitely changed, didn't it?
I'd say
for
like if those were
females.
initial designs we were offered, I probably would have picked the fully armored one. But like Armadill's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know what I feel about changing the look of it.
Well,
It's an odd one.
if people are up for it in large numbers, then there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
of course.
with doing that. I remember they wanted to change the armadillo helm, the community, from on females from the small sort of like hat that sits on your head to something that's more like the males.
And we did do it too.
We
didn't
did, yeah, and there was a lot of support for it initially, but then as soon as it went to poll, it failed. I'm not sure if it failed quite heavily, but it certainly failed.
It failed slightly, but it had so much support backing it. You would have thought it'd pass with 100%.
It was very peculiar, of course, that this hat, you wear it, and if you're a man, it's got a big crest on top. And you put it on a woman, and suddenly the crest goes down, and it's just a
Yeah.
It's the
very
thing with
lovely
like
thing.
it's the
What's
thing with like
that?
Bando's chest plate. On a male, it's like very straight across the. On a female, it's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
curved and.
I think like a lot of people don't get me wrong when I say it looks more effeminate with the midriff shown. It's just the way that shape language works. I mean, if you have one shape which ends here and another one starts, then it draws the hips in when the eyes look at it. So it makes the silhouette appear slightly more curved for some reason. So that's why it appears more effeminate. There's nothing.
Guess who
sexist
the
about
artist
it.
is on the stream?
Breaking the realism. My
someone
immersion when I go
said-
to the makeover page and suddenly my armor changes shape.
They're going to want to toggle for it, ain't they? Well, it made sense back in the days of Thrander.
Like I got at the male rune plate body, I took it to Thrander, he bashes it a bit in Varrock, and suddenly I've got a female one that fits the character I was using at the time.
Well, we've got the results back there, so should we change the male armadillo armor to remove the bare skin sections? That's the stomach and thigh. 72% yes, would not pass an actual poll, so I don't know, we can...
Yeah, I honestly think that if we attempted to do this again, we'd just get the same thing with the armadillo helm. I don't mind doing it, just it's a fast model to make, so if there's enough support from the community, we can certainly poll it. I mean, that's relatively close, it just depends on what your social medium is.
Do you think if we just painted the flesh-coloured polygons grey with the home and dry?
You can literally just do that. So there's no reason why not, and it would mean you don't have to adjust labels or render ordering or anything like that. So that's exactly what we should do. So yeah, we can try it, poll it. If people want it, then we can change it.
Okay.
But be aware there's always going to be a backlash because you're essentially saying to quarter of the game, we're going to change an iconic item. And they won't be happy about it.
Well, we're not saying we're changing it, we're saying, do you want...
No, I mean, if it does pass, then people say if it's like say 75% and it only just passes, you're going to annoy about 25% of the people that have that item.
Yep. Seems quite controversial. I'd be very, very doubtful that would pass a poll.
I don't think it would pass, personally.
Okay. I feel that as well.
Moving on. AQP says, can Tenzing's climbing boot shop and the fancy clothes store in Varrock get reworks so to make trading with them easier? Make sense? So currently you have to go through like 4 to 6 pages of dialogue, according to him, to be able to buy boots or trade in furs for hunter wear.
I thought the hunter guy had an interface.
I thought there was an interface too. Maybe that came later. Or
Maybe he comes up with 6 sets of dialogue.
Well, that would explain a lot. But as for Tenzing, I imagine he's just got chat where you talk to him and boots get transacted. We could certainly replace that with a shop probably quite easily. Right. And we could see whatever it is with the hunter costume shop in Varrock and see what we can do with that. Unless talk about eagle capes, at which point there might be special dialogue because it's a quest item. But you probably didn't want a lot of those. Because as cosmetics go, it's not very cosmetic.
Okay, cool. I'm going to grab one from the chat here.
Get the eagle's beak for eagle's peak. That's about it.
Mally says, are there going to be any quest requirements or skill requirements to defeat the raids bosses?
We've not put any quest requirements in at all. As for skill requirements, there's some of them where it would be advantageous to have more than just your standard combat skills.
I don't know if there's any strict requirements though as such.
No, it's not even like the Tanglefoot from Fairy Tale 1 where it turns out if you've got level 1 strength then you're never going to get anywhere with the thing.
I mean, we've kind of hinted at like recommendations.
We've got a bunch of stuff that varies in raid as well, not just bosses, but in raiding dungeons. Like some requirements on things actually change depending on your team's average and that sort of thing. So,
and even in the one where you're fighting a thing with fairly standard melee, and it would be advantageous to have another skill in addition to your combat. You don't need it. You'll just have a rather shonky time trying to get any loot anytime soon if you don't.
That and, of course, the 2 def requirement. Just to annoy peers. We've got another one.
We've got stuff in there that you have to long range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so mean.
You get to the final boss.
We've got some stuff in there where it really does matter what melee style you're using as well. So if you're going in there saying, well, I'm never going to do anything that will give me defense XP, maybe you better let someone else do the hitting. It won't spring XP on you, you just won't get very far with slash necessarily.
Ooh. All right. Goku says, out of all of the raids bosses, which one was the most challenging to create?
I think Olm, just because of the scale of it and the fact that he uses... We can discuss it, can't we? The actual way that
it comes out the walls, they've seen that.
Yeah, that's fine then. So it's made out of 3 locations, so that's 3 separate parts that all have to animate in sync with each other. That's hard enough to program. And quite hard, not as hard actually, but it is difficult in the editor when you've got to animate 3 things that all sync up with each other. So for each animation of one part, the other 2 have to have one of the equal length, and that also complements it. If you imagine something the size of Olm, to make it feel like it's all one entity when it's 3 parts, you have to make it feel like the weight's shifting. and it was very difficult to make it feel like it's all part of one thing.
The engine is built not for animating locations in this way.
Yeah,
You could say that again.
Yeah.
But so that's been a nightmare for me to program. But I managed it. Elm's coming along very nicely now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and our code for combat isn't written for locations either. So essentially, when you fight the Olm, there are locations, which is essentially what we make scenery out of, like a table is a lock. But not an NPC, of course. But under these locations for the Olm essentially are invisible NPCs, and that's what you actually fight, despite the fact it's the scenery behind it that's jumping about and
Yeah, I was lucky.
animating.
I was very lucky with Vass and Listerio. While you do have to try and kill some of his scenery, it's a crystal, we don't move. So that's all right.
Yeah.
Certainly, scenery is overrated sometimes. This is not a table.
It's not. I thought that when you put your cup mug on the side.
And then you've got to put your foot on
Destroy
it.
the
It's like,
illusion.
We say every stream this isn't a table.
That's true.
this isn't a sofa.
Okay, follow-up question
Not a
to
comfy
that.
one anyway.
Guys, follow-up question to that. Are there any new design elements we've never seen in a boss before?
I
Yes.
think every single boss meets that.
There has to be. Yeah.
Like individual mechanics, maybe they're inspired by other places, and
Yeah.
There's only a few so far that I've worked on that use standard combat code in any way at all for what they're trying to do to you.
Yeah.
Tecton certainly ain't using it, and Vast Stereo is nothing like it.
But yeah, all the fights are feeling just so unique compared to anything else.
Awesome.
I think like with raids, we really wanted to deliver something that rings true to old school, but it's still something really fresh. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I loved how that happened with Zulrah. For example, I made a video promoting Zulrah before it came out of a guy in full bandos and a whip running up to it, and he was like, "All right, he's in for this fight." And I didn't show any of the fight, and everyone was like, "Okay, it looks like I need to bring full bandos and a whip."
This reminds me. This reminds me of what they used to do in like 2011 and 2012. Every time they'd do a bunch of teaser pics for the next update, and it'd be like future content. Maybe it's a new monster to kill, it's a new boss, and every time the teaser pics of all the people in the room in the video or the image were always being really stupid gear, like taking full split bark as gear, and it's like we never knew whether do they have any idea at all, or are they just trying to disguise what gear you're meant to take?
Panicked by a split bark, yeah.
It's a row we had back when the Gnome Cops were being written around late 07, because the fake players running around all those simulations, like the 40 or so fake players pretending to play Castle Wars, they all needed to be dressed for the occasion. And I had quite an argument with the people who were then working in the art team about how, well, this is what people would wear to this minigame. Yeah, but that doesn't look very good. And we want to show this kit, which has been made more recently and looks awesome. Yeah, but no one's going to come dressed like that, not to do this. And just different values. I think in the end we settled for a nice compromise. But it's always been a thing like, do we show off the kit we want people to see pictures of, or do we show off the kit that will tell them what they should dress for? To be honest, players are quite good at working out for themselves what to dress for when they're going to fight a boss after the first couple of tries.
I actually watched the Wild Man Bank robbery cutscene earlier.
Oh, yes.
It just reminded me, like, every single player's name is just hilarious.
Thank you. My first substantial piece of content.
I saw him moving on in the chat, so we're going to move on.
Is, sorry, Chris. So there's a lot of people asking for a barriers pet. Are we allowed to address that?
No.
No, we're not. Okay.
We are allowed. It's a no.
Okay.
That's going to upset somebody.
Yep.
Oh, well. That's. I feel like I should go into more detail.
No, it's fine.
We've answered it so many times.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right. Matthew says, can Prospector Percy sell an item that gives gold gauntlets the ice gloves effect at Blast Furnace? Could be sold for 100 nuggets.
That sounds nice.
Gold is ice, sure.
No, that would be nice. I'd like
Okay,
that.
cool.
It's kind of like a super blacksmithing gauntlet.
If you've done the quest, of course.
Yeah.
Nuggets.
Right. My name is Mo says, are there any plans to update Castle Wars? Says, joining a game late, you have to wait a bit until there's space ready on a team. Can't you insta-join the team with the least players in the game?
Might make it a fair bit easy to hop back and forth mid-game to try and make sure you're on the winning side if you're tactical with it, which was always a bit of a bane in Castle Wars, especially when not in old school, but back in the older days, the Ardoin Diaries came out, and one of the things you had to do was be on the winning team in Castle Wars. And since you could get yourself into a game midway through if you were lucky, everyone was trying to do that because they just wanted to be on the winning team. No one actually cared about playing the game. And it was more frustrating than anything, so things that help you get in and out, I'm not so keen on. With that said, the thing about Castle Wars is it's not instanced. You're on the real map, and therefore only one game can take place at a time. If Castle Wars were different, weren't so vertically tall, then it could actually be instanced. So if the kind of changes he's looking at were a redesign of Castle Wars, and I'm hoping they're not, by the way, but if they were, then we could design one that could be instanced so that you wouldn't have to wait for the previous game to finish on that world before another one could start. It'd be more like Pest Control or Last Man Standing, where multiple games can run at the same time. However, I think that's probably more than he had in mind.
Yeah, I agree. This is a thing now. People are just spamming moving on. All right. Well, Mob says, how long until after the release of raids do you predict a group might complete the first raid?
You can't
It's impossible to put a time on it right now.
Really hard to predict.
The content is yet to be balanced. It's not all finished.
I think that they might struggle a bit the first time through, but, sell enough people, then you may be spitting the loop by a few ways. But
There's no reason you're not going to complete it your first time, because
I expect so.
you don't really fail a raid. Since when you die, you just respawn in the dungeon with less points, and you might have to spend a lot of time farming food and potions.
Will we have something to check the first group finishes?
We will try to make some kind of board like the Duel Arena has, which lists things that went to completion.
But yeah, I imagine we can set up telemetry to let us know as soon as things have
That'd be really cool.
happened.
That's an interesting challenge. Say, I was in the first group that defeated the first raids boss.
Be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But for players as well, it might be nice if it did have a thing like the Duel Arena scoreboard to list
really
the
cool.
parties that did get to the bottom and when and how long they took.
Yeah,
as we
duration
can.
would be really nice to have like speed running scoreboards. Would be really cool.
Well, we can't make anything much more elaborate than Duel Arena scoreboard. The reason I keep saying it is it's because that's what we can write without, postponing for several months to get more engine features. And I don't really want to postpone for this.
Could we give the person that does that like a Barrow's pet?
We can give them a barrow pet. I found a model of a wheelbarrow.
Good. That'll do it.
They get a barrow pet. Okay.
I like that.
We've got so many
Barrow's
questions left.
Why can't we
so
do a
little
Barrow's
time.
pet, Chris?
I'm going to see, do we have the ability to speed run through a few questions here?
Yeah, that's good.
quick
Well, it depends
fire.
whether you want good answers or not. Carry on.
You want to quick fire? Yes,
yeah,
no.
maybe some of these can. Can the page for the Hardcore Iron Man Firsts be linked somewhere on the home page? It's impossible to find elsewhere.
Webtoon.
So no.
No.
We could put a news post every
If you do
second.
want to find the Hardcore Iron Man Firsts page, I believe just check our Twitter.
If we post a news post, then now we have a new... Did they manage to fix the news archive?
News archive is not out.
Well, it could be there for a few news posts worth anyway.
Okay. For those curious, I think we'll try to find it and paste in the chat for you. Maybe you can just favorite the page. But yeah. I've lost where we are. There we are. There should be an image with this one. Hero Light says, can Crunchy and Tim make an appearance in an upcoming event or quest?
That'd be kind of nice.
Have they ever been in game?
I don't think so.
Don't think. Yeah, I don't think
We've
they-
probably made references to them in descriptions or
There they
something,
are.
but
That's cool. I'd love to show them in game. That'd be cool.
What's the dragon called? One's got a little dragon pet, hasn't he? Green dragon.
I don't know its name.
Oh, sure. It's
Look at me, I don't know.
When I was a kid, I don't know. That's something I weirdly remember from being a kid. I swear I had a name.
I don't remember
Green
that.
dragon. No.
For what it's worth, some of these names just arise through jokes that become eventually official. Like,
Oh yeah, I think it was like Posty Pete letters. I think it was.
Well, thinking about Dead Man Nigel, actually, after the marketing team drew that picture of a ominous-looking guy in assassin gear for Dead Man mode, I kept calling him Nigel, and eventually it stuck, so we put him in the game and called him Nigel.
All right.
I would love to put them in game, especially for like maybe a birthday event.
We'll definitely keep them in mind.
I've been looking at them for 2 years on the wall. About time.
Yeah. Josh says, can we have an unnote spell that only works every half an hour?
Sorry, I didn't what?
An unnote spell.
What a whole stack.
Spell that can unnote things.
A whole stack. One item.
I imagine you have a stack of, say, like
I don't.
1,000 or something. It gives you 20.
It sounds.
It should have just been a quick no. Why is this?
Yes, I forgot it was
I wanted
sorry.
to just be like, no, and I was like, wait, if somebody else says something, I'm going to look so strange.
No,
no.
Chris.
Okay. Skinny says, is it possible to replace the black void in the background with a color gradient depending on where you are in the world? For example, a blue void to resemble the sky.
No.
Rap God. Yeah, that's not possible. Sorry, I would love it though.
Engine.
Diary says, oh, we've already answered that. Sorry. You know what? I think we're actually good to send you over for your sneak peek.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
just
let's
do
do
it.
We can tackle a couple more in
No
the
use
meantime while you
here.
get set up.
Sorry.
Let me just grab.
Couple of questions in the chat. Can you remove the dialogue across the cut into Shiloh Village? Yes, I hate that dialogue.
Hang on, wasn't that already done? There was a job for streamlining getting into Shiloh Village. What happened to
I
it?
think I remember that actually. Maybe we did.
Maybe we didn't
didn't
remove
look
it
into
all.
Geordie Boy 109, bring rest to Old School RuneScape. I don't think people want rest in the game.
I wouldn't. No.
Dekilla 254, that's a terrible name. Can we have a peak
That's a
option
great
at the
name.
Lizard,
It's already on.
Lizardman
It's an
Shaman
okay
ladder?
name, at
It's
least.
already on the
It's at
list.
least
Feature
okay.
polls.
Cool. And high stakes, Chris?
Yes, I will say the high stakes thing happily.
LMS
The last minute standing high stakes is going live tomorrow.
Isn't it next week?
Are you
Tomorrow,
sure, Chris?
midday, mid-afternoon.
Did
It'll be
Jed
about-
program it? I
Yeah.
haven't seen any sign of it.
We can
It's on the
turn it
rotten
on the
potato. You just turn it on. So we'll turn it on tomorrow, midday, give or take,
Yeah.
GMT.
As far as I'm aware, it'll still have decors in.
It should have dragon claws in it. It should
Yeah.
also have the dragon warhammer. But yeah, that's high stakes. That's 1 mil entry, potential 15 mil prize. Good times. That'll be live for the entire weekend. Look forward to that. Aside from that, I think we might be good to head over.
Hi. So you've seen this boss already, you've seen the model for it, but often what brings more life to characters is the actual animation, which is what I've been doing for the last probably 6 weeks now, just providing animations and also fleshing out sort of rough designs for the content developers, which they then build on once they receive them. So I'm just going to show you this NPC here. It's called Vespula. The way it got its name is the common wasp that we have in the UK is called Vespula vulgaris. Vespula meaning wasp, so I figured that'd be a good name for this queen of wasps. The species that she's actually queen of are called the Vespine, which hopefully we should be able to introduce into the raids dungeon, but that's a nice to have at the moment. So I'll show you some of these animations. This is just a standard walk cycle. And the good thing about these animations is if I just turn on the skeleton for you, you can see there's a hell of a lot of points going on just there, which means we can get some real range of movement going on with these NPCs for raids. So you can see even just the shell just here is kind of rocking from side to side, and just the sort of, what do we call that? We call that the abdomen, I think. Just sort of like moving up and down. And when I actually cause it to walk, you can see that the feet actually position themselves on the floor and don't actually slide out of place too much. So the walk cycle will feel a lot more grounded in the world when this NPC moves around. So as well as the walk cycle, what we have when the NPC is standing still is an idle, so I'll just shut this down.
I think your mic might be rubbing just a bit there.
Oh, sorry, okay. I'll tell you what would be easier, because it's kind of a bit irritating. I'll just hold the mic here, there we go. So this is called the idle, and that's when the NPC stands still. You can see we've again got a bit more bobbing up and down on the back just there, a bit of movement in the face, so it really kind of just feels like it's sort of pulsating with a heartbeat and with breathing, so it kind of very much feels alive. So I'll close this one down as well, and then we can actually get this thing to take off. Cool. So the reason why that it's just sort of repeating itself is because this is a separate animation. But what I'm actually going to do is build this into the current flying animation and make it so that starts off the flying animation and then the actual flying cycle loops, which I'll show you now. There we go. So you can see that I'm going to have to just grab the keyboard a second, sorry. There we go. So you can see the animations really do bring this thing to life. It's got a lot more character than when you initially saw it on screen now. And it's actually got 3 wings here, which move really fast and sort of fade out with various opacities. So it gives you that sort of flapping motion that you kind of see in like anime cartoons and things like that. So I'll just let you view this from a few different angles just so you can get a feel for what it's actually doing. You can see the hands are sort of like grasping there, sort of like almost clutching towards you, and the feet are all kind of doing the same as well. And you can see even like the nose on it is kind of moving up and down and rocking back and forwards. And the stinger's kind of anticipating attacking you as well. And even the wing casings are sort of bobbing up and down for you there as well, just to give the feeling like it's in motion in air and they've got some weight to them. So I'll just turn that off and then we'll move to some of the attack animations. So we've got an attack for on the ground, just there. And you can see it kind of rears up its wings in anger and they sort of flutter a little bit. And the abdomen comes down and sort of bends. So I've tried to give like a range of motion and character to all of these animations. I'll move to another one. So we've got a similar one in air as well. You see it kind of coils back almost like a blast from a gun. And its hands sort of like the fists clench when it's about to fire as well. Again, okay, and I think we've just got one more now to show you. So this is melee attack. This is my favourite one. It just looks really aggressive. It's going to do some serious damage to you. So I'll just slowly rotate around the NPC. That's probably quite small. Just let me zoom in and centre it up. Okay. Right, so that's all the animations for this boss. We'll show you some more animations next week for another one of the bosses, so you'll be able to get a sense of the character that's sort of coming through with these animations and see a bit more of the thought process that goes into them. I'll move back over the couch now. Thank you very much.
That's petrifying. I hate wasps that are this big.
I hate wasps.
You don't need any inspiration to make an evil wasp because it's just, they are by definition evil.
Well, in our fantasy world, you're going to be able to kill them soon.
I think the Latin
Or they kill you.
Vespula vulgaris pretty much sums it up, doesn't it? Even in ancient times, they were despised.
Well, vulgar, I think, meant common rather than kind of...
Did it really? I never knew that. Okay, cool.
Like one of the early translations of the Bible into Latin was the Vulgate, not because it was full of curses or anything.
Yeah. So if someone calls you vulgar, they're really just saying that you're kind of pedestrian and common.
Well,
Pleb.
pleb, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
non-noble.
Bit of an insult,
Yeah.
There we go,
That's
Latin
interesting.
lesson.
Hey.
I think.
I think that concludes our stream. We've got a bunch of questions as usual to save for next week, and I believe we're showing another boss next week.
Yes, we are. We'll be
Yes.
sharing a boss for the next 2 weeks, I should think.
Fantastic.
What's next?
I think we'll go for Vasinisterio next week.
That's got some lovely animes.
Reminds me of the Doctor Who episode.
Oh, Vashta Narada.
No, this Christmas one.
Oh, really?
Because it's the return of Dr. Mysterio.
Is it, oh, right, okay, yeah, like the wrestler as well, John said.
Moving on.
Yes, sorry.
I was thinking about the
just gonna start
giant
yelling
wasps,
that.
but okay. The best form.
Couple quick plugs before we go. Premier Club is still on sale. You can save. I don't remember the prices. Oh God.
An entire year for £50. Well, $49.99. Save that penny.
Hey, there you go.
Pretty good for a year deal, right?
Yep. Save some money on membership. Premier Clubs, it's limited time thing.
And Dead Man
obviously.
tickets as well.
And we're also obviously selling the Dead Man tickets for the ESL tournament in Leicester. If you're around that area, you're definitely going to want to come.
Come and see us. We'd love to see you up close.
Ooh,
That's not creepy.
that's a bit.
Ooh.
Oh, I'll get their attention.
And on that bombshell.
Yeah. Okay. And of course, Last Man Standing High Stakes is going live tomorrow. Don't
Of
forget.
course.
Aside from that, guys, thanks for watching. See you next week.